Kay Burley is back on our screens, so you know what that means? Let's go for more gotcha moments and talk about nonsense. Probably getting angry at everything too. In today's woeful interview, and in all honesty, Dame Diana Johnson didn't really help herself much, but it was actually Kay Burley that said the quiet bit out loud. The farmers' inheritance tax protest, which is taking place in London today, is supposed to be all about these poor farmers who earn a pittance and strive to make sure that we have food on our shelves. It's the same farmers who voted for Brexit and have nobody to come across and pick the fruit that's in the field. And it's these same poor farmers who are now threatening to cut our food supply in time for Christmas because they don't want to pay an inheritance tax, like the rest of us do. Well, only the richest 4% of people actually pay inheritance tax, and only the richest 1.5% of farmers will pay half inheritance tax spread over 10 years. This protest is funded by obscenely wealthy people who don't want to pay any tax at all. Yet it's being framed as the poor small family-run farm who's going to be hit hard by this. However, during the interview, Kate Burley actually slips up not once but twice defending rich farmers. She wants to know why the government isn't protecting rich farmers, and then she also wants to know why the government isn't wanting to close down a tax loophole. I mean, seriously, is this the kind of journalism that we have in the mainstream media when they're defending rich people's ability not to pay tax? It's madness.
Rich farmers are people that you represent now, and yet you're letting them down. And these are people that are responsible for our food supply.
Well, I think we do have a lot of MPs now who represent rural areas. I think that's absolutely right. And as the policing minister, one of the issues I'm concerned about is rural crime, and that affects communities, rich farmers and not so rich farmers, and the general public who live out in the countryside.
How will you guarantee that there won't be food shortages leading up to Christmas?
Well, issues around food security are obviously national security issues. There are plans in place, there are contingencies always in place to deal with that. But I'm confident that that won't happen.
Steve Reid had said purposefully that he would not axe agricultural policy, property relief, that tax loophole that we're talking about today. So you did say that you wouldn't do it.
Well,
and you have.
Can I just say, I'm a Home Office minister.
Yeah, but he should be sat here this morning, and he isn't. And you've got collective responsibility. You're representing the government this morning. You promised that you wouldn't do this, and you have.
But today we're making a big announcement about police reform.
And we'll come to that. What's important today is that 40,000 farmers are going to be on the streets of London because you made a promise to them ahead of the election that you wouldn't you wouldn't put this tax in place. And you have.
Right, OK, so I think it's really important to recognise today that the protests are taking place, the farmers are making their case to Parliament, to MPs, and I'm sure all MPs and ministers will be listening very carefully to what they have to say.
But as I said, Dame Diana Johnson didn't really help herself. She didn't really come across as completely across the brief, which you'd expect her to be all over this as it's headline news. Just push back on her. Use her own words against her. Turn around and say, Kate, why are you protecting rich people? With the mainstream media pretty much doing the Tories' job for them, it means the Tories don't actually have to think for themselves. And here you can see Richard Holden completely forgetting who was in charge for the past 14 years with his own gotcha moment. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.